Elly De La does it all as the Reds make it look easy against the big bad Los Angeles Dodgers.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Reds. I am your host, Steve Offenbaker. Joining me today, special guest host Tim Daniel. You know him from the Riverfront guys. He's agreed to pinch hit for Jeffrey, who's been out of town all week. Very excited to have him here. And listen, he is no different than when Jeff and I are here. He loves baseball just like we do. He loves these Cincinnati Reds just like we do. They drive him bonkers just like they drive us bonkers. So, Tim, you fit in very well around here.
I thought you were going to say I fit in because I look like Jeff.
Well, no, there is that as well. But we talk about the Cincinnati Reds each and every day, and we have taken our love for baseball, our love for the game, and we turn it into information for you. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's podcast, we are going to break down Elly De La Cruz's fantastic night out in Los Angeles. We're going to take a look at the bullpen day that went really well, little bumps at the end, but went really, really well. We never wanted to hear those words again, but it happened and it went okay. And we're also going to take a look at the starting pitchers going today and hoping for a bounce back from Frankie Montas. Before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets back with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And where we're going to get started, Tim, is talking about Elly De La, wonderful, Elly De La, amazing, Elly De La, run around the bases. Elly De La Cruz is cruising. What a night out at Chavez Ravine.
Man, just unbelievable the performance he put on. He said it earlier in the year when they played the Angels on that Friday night game when he had the opposite field home run and multiple stolen bases, where he just loves LA's his city. That's the teams he likes to play against, his LA teams. He does really well. And I did a spot on Dodger Heads on their Blue Wire, our Dodger show there this week. And all they wanted to talk about was they love watching Elly De La Cruz play when he doesn't play the Dodgers. And starting to see why. It's nice that we can finally call someone, like we always hear about the Reds killers. It's nice that we have someone we can call a Dodger killer.
Right? That is a nice, refreshing change. Actually, the whole game last night was a nice, refreshing change. But I got to tell you, I was getting sick and tired of losing one-run games, the Reds not scoring, the Reds not hitting. So it was nice to be reminded that somewhere in there is a team that can actually hit the baseball.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Elly De La Cruz going 4 for 4, his stolen bases, gets caught stealing on what a tag by Mookie Betts, by the way, to keep him from breaking the team record. But I hate giving Mookie Betts. No, I don't. I love Mookie Betts. I just hate
Mookie Betts is amazing. Isn't it strange to see him on the infield? I'm still not used to it.
Still weird. Yeah, it's like seeing Bryce Harper play first base. I'm like, I don't know. But Tyler Stevenson today, 2 huge RBI hits, loud contact. Things are starting to look pretty good there. Will Benson starts there with a home run, obviously. A lot to be excited about with the Reds laying the lumber at Chavez Ravine.
Yeah, you mentioned Elly's day. Yeah, 4 for 4. He scored 3 times. He had an RBI as well. Stole the 4 bases, as you mentioned. He was 4 out of 5 on steals on the night. That puts him at 30 steals for the season, and we're not even 3/4 of the way through the month of May. He's going to break records, Tim.
Yeah, I before the season, I did one prop bet all year. And I took Elly De La Cruz to lead the major leagues in stolen bases. I feel pretty good about that one.
You dropped Tyler Stevenson's name in there, and I have been saying for about the last week, every at-bat of his that I watched, he's been making tremendous contact. He's been barreling the ball. A lot of them have been really loud, hard outs right at people, but you could kind of see it coming, right? You could kind of see that there was a breakout in his future, and I think we're seeing the beginning of it now. I really like what we're seeing from him as the catcher for this team. And I think we're seeing enough now that I really need for whatever has been going on to garner Luke Maile so much playing time to go away. I need it to get back to a more traditional catcher number 1, catcher number 2. Maile will get his turns, but not at the expense of Tyler Stevenson's turns. I think Luke Maile was a great signing if you use him correctly as a backup catcher for the times that Tyler really just can't go. Day game following a night game, getaway day kind of thing. Occasional rest, occasional, late inning substitution to save Tyler's knees. That's the best usage of Luke Maile.
I completely agree. If you look at Tyler Stevenson right now, he's got a 777 OPS. It's good, but like you said, with the turn of how things are going, it looks like it's going to end up better. You and I, our good friend Ken Huber, obscure former Reds, went on record to say he will have an 800 OPS this year. I didn't feel like that was super hot of a take, but especially now when you look at his Baseball Savant page, my favorite website in the universe, 97% barrel percentage, 95% hard hit percentage. That is exactly what you want from him. He's never been the 20-25 home run guy, but we all kind of felt like it was there. It's a conversation every Reds fan has. So with what you're saying in regards to Luke Maile, we're at the point now where it should be T Steve at least 6 to 7 days, right? Like he should get to go back. Like he said, rest one day, DH is one day. Not going to play first base again. Don't need to worry about that, thankfully. In that circumstance, I think now, I love Luke Maile. He's a great defensive catcher, calls a hell of a game. And I know the young starters are really comfortable with him behind the plate. But at this point, with how this team has been so struggled, I'm just trying to think of another word other than struggled offensively. They got to rely on the guys they know can get hits. And right now, Tyler Stevenson's getting hits.
And that was one of the things that made Luke Maile such a great offseason signing was the fact that the pitchers already knew him. Mm-hmm. He knew them. Everybody was comfortable. They didn't have to figure each other out. I feel like David Bell's gotten a little carried away with the amount of swapping out that's been going on behind the plate. I would like to see it get a little bit more traditional. I got to give another guy a shout out. Him and Locked On Everydayers are going to know that they're going to light me up in the comment section. Some of them, because they have been yelling at me every time I talk about this guy. But Stuart Fairchild has had several good at-bats in a row in multiple games. And the difference here is that David Bell is finally using him in the manner that he should have been used all along, which is only facing left-handed pitchers, only in there to do that job. You and I talked off air that if everybody was healthy, if the Reds didn't suffer, a nearly, over 35% loss in their offensive lineup to start the season, Stuart Fairchild would have never even sniffed the big leagues. He'd still be down in Louisville. So, I stand by everything I've said about Stuart, as far as Stuart Fairchild being used as an everyday player, as far as Stuart Fairchild being hyped. There was a lot of best shape of his life talk when he was out in Goodyear at the beginning of the season. There was a lot of talk about him, being ready to turn a corner and become this everyday player. He was never going to be that guy, but I am very happy to see him be able to be this role player and successfully get in there against left-handed pitchers and drive the ball.
I joked on that Dodger spot I did that I mentioned earlier that if the Reds could have a designated fielder, he'd be my call. Just put him out there. Don't worry about at-bats. But you're absolutely right. When he's used in the correct circumstance, he's certainly useful. In this circumstance, it's hitting against left-handed pitching. So the Reds tweeted a stat tonight. Batting average, I know, is not the be-all, end-all that it was in 1993 by any means, but he's hitting 305 against lefties now. That is exactly where you need him to be, because this is a team that needs a right-handed outfielder. And I don't think he is necessarily the ideal right-handed outfielder that we've been looking for throughout the offseason that we've all complained about, but he's stepping up and doing what he needs to do here. And I think that's all you can ask for. You talk about that hit tonight. I mean, dead center in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium, right off the wall. That was awesome. Right over James Outman's head. He had to go chase it. Fantastic. Exactly what you want. But it's kind of the situation for him where this is exactly what he needs to be. I don't want him hitting third in the order anymore, or I don't want him pinch hitting for Mike Ford against the San Francisco Giants ever again on national television. But this is just fine.
No, absolutely. So before we get out of this segment, I wanted to talk for a minute about Will Benson, because Will Benson, I think, came into this year with all the right attitude, saying all the right things. He wanted to work at being better at facing left-handed pitching. He wanted to become an all-around player, try and be an everyday guy. And it hasn't gone very well, including the first game of the Dodgers series performance. His batting average, again, not what it used to be, but his batting average is still sub 200. He's at 196 right now. He did have the big home run to start off the game for the Reds and set the tone and get things going, maybe, get at Glasnow just a little bit and help, keep him off of his game. But Benson's still showing us signs. He's still showing us that he can be good at the big league level, that he can be good in the lineup. Do you think he's ever going to get to a place where he can just be an everyday guy, or have you seen enough of the him versus lefties experiment to say he should be platooned?
I'm not really a guy judging someone on 2 years of at bats. I know that sounds really silly, but to see like how people widened their talent, not everyone's Elly De La Cruz. So I'm still okay with him getting those opportunities to see if they can just. And now, if it's a situation where it's a pennant race, and they run back in, they're back in this in August, it might be a different conversation you and I are having. But at the moment, yeah, I think he deserves a shot to do so. I don't know if he's going to fully develop into that. He's shown glimpses this year, like you mentioned. He's got a homer against a lefty at GABP this year. That was a rocket. And you kind of mentioned he always still shows his capability. He can still be good. So he's homered 2 of the last 3 games. By the way, they've won those 2 of those last 3 games that he's homered in. So I will take any win I can get after the stretch they've been on. There's a lot to like about him. I feel like the team responds really well to him when things are cooking. He seems like he's kind of a good fire starter for them. So if they can kind of keep doing this thing, I mean, you mentioned the homer. That walk was huge today too. He had late in the later innings. I mean, that was humongous for them. I love Will Benson. I'm always going to cheer hard for center fielders wearing number 30 in Cincinnati. So I'm really excited that he's kind of getting some power back, and I hope it keeps going.
The Cincinnati Reds, offensive juggernaut. Who knew? The Reds are going to be able to score some runs against the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have proved them to be human. Elly De La Cruz is amazing. He's going to break a lot of records, and this could end up being a fun series. Now, look, last year, we told everydayers that we never wanted to see another bullpen day ever. We never wanted to hear the words. We never wanted it to happen again. Well, we saw one last night, and coming up, we're going to break down what ended up being a pretty fantastic performance by the Reds bullpen. We're going to talk about that coming up. I want to shout out one of the sponsors of today's podcast. Today's show is brought to you in part by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Show a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right. You've got to check out Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 streaming sports channel program just for you each and every day to bring you the biggest stories. Locked On Sports today brings you the can't miss analysis, opinions, and news from the Locked On Network, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or for free on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up next week, Jeff Carr will be back. That's not Jeff Carr. I know it's a little confusing. He looks a lot like Jeff Carr, but that's not Jeff Carr. Jeff Carr will be back with me, and we are going to be breaking down the rest of this Dodgers series that is taking place over the weekend out in Los Angeles. All right, Tim, I talked about it. I said the words. They're dirty, and I didn't even bleep them. Bullpen day. Words that we did not want to hear. We didn't want to talk about it. We never wanted to see it again. David Bell cured me of ever wanting to see that. But here we are. The Reds did it. and it really worked out. Started things off with Brent Suter, who only went 2/3 of an inning. He walked a guy, but being a left-handed pitcher, it forced the Dodgers to kind of set their lineup because Suter could give you multiple innings. The Reds did not tip their hand about how long each pitcher was going to go, so the Dodgers had to act accordingly. He was relieved in the first inning by Emilio Pagan, who ended up pitching 1 inning, allowed 1 hit, struck out a guy. Perfectly clean outing. Justin Wilson comes in next. He gets a hold. Ridiculous statistic. He pitched 1/3 of an inning, striking out a batter. Nice outing for Justin Wilson. And then we get Mr. Nick Martinez, this is the reason, this role right here is what made him such a valuable signing by the Reds in the offseason. It was not to be a true starter and be in the rotation. That's not where he is at his best. It's not to be a 1 or 2 or 3 out inning relief pitcher, to come into a game and get 1, 2, 3 and be done. It was to be this guy, this long man, this guy that could come in and give you 5 innings of scoreless baseball. He allowed 1 hit in 5 innings, striking out 4. And here's the stat of the night: walking nobody. What a performance by Nick Martinez.
This is what you wanted from him, right? When you kind of put through the situation, you said this is the ideal role for Nick Martinez. It's not like your stereotypical long man either. You know what I mean? It's you're long. So I think that's what's kind of really cool about it. Obviously there's a comfortability difference you can see in him between when he starts the game and when he comes into as a reliever. And the stats aren't just the only thing. You can just tell by the way his body language, the way he kind of takes the mound. So that last out today, as he's leaving, you could hear his emotion come out of how excited he was from his performance. And I love that stuff, man. That's exactly what I want. That makes baseball fun. MLB will probably suspend him for yelling into the microphone on the camera or something. So hopefully I don't get you in trouble for making that joke. But I really love everything that we're getting from him in these circumstances, and you've seen it consistently now. So he's had multiple outings now where we've had to go at least 3 or more innings, and he's thrived in that. So the Angels series, the Dodgers series, noticing a trend here. I really am excited about that. You may only get him now because he threw 5 innings. You may only get him every 4th or so day, but I think it's worth it. What he can do is with the innings he can give you and the outs he can get. He was tremendous, man. He was hitting the spots, and he's pretty unhittable in that circumstance.
Hopefully Nick Lodolo is back after just missing 3 turns. So this would be the first one, right? The first turn that he's missed. So if he only misses 2 more turns through the rotation, I think I would be comfortable with the Reds doing this 2 more times. The way things went today, take it on a case-by-case basis, run Suter out there again to start things, switch to Martinez, see where you're at. And then if you do need to call up a starter for the 3rd start, well, then you do that. But I would be totally comfortable watching this experiment repeat itself in 5 days.
I agree, and I think that the guys who filled in after him, I know we're going to get to the guys who didn't do too hot in the 9th inning for sure, but if you look at a guy like Lucas Sims, who you mentioned, you criticize Stuart Fairchild every time you do, he does something. Every time I'm ready to give up on Lucas Sims, he has this stretch he's on right now where his last 7 outings, he's got a .64 whip, and he's striking everybody out, and it's like, all right, fine, you got me again. And today gives him a solid inning right after Nick Martinez kind of bulldozes the Dodgers. He kind of picks up where he leaves off. So I thought that was awesome. And that's the more, that's where you feel more comfortable with this bullpen, because really big picture, they're just middle of the pack bullpen ERA. It's not like they've been terrible. It's just a lot of situations where it's like when they really need the Reds, like the Reds really need them to keep them in games or keep them from giving them up the lead. They just haven't been able to do that. So I don't know, maybe just spot them 7 runs. Maybe that's what it takes.
Maybe so. So you mentioned Lucas Sims, an inning of work, struck out 2 in his inning of work. Nice outing for him. Great to see. Hopefully that's a good confidence builder, sign of things yet to come. Then we get to Sam Moll, recently returned from Louisville. Scoreless innings streak on the line. It is now gone. He only managed 1/3 of an inning, allowed a hit, gave up 2 earned runs, walked 1, struck out 1. Not a great outing for Sam Moll. I think he's going to be just fine. I'm not really worried about it. But then we bring in Buck Farmer. He goes 2/3 of an inning. He allows a hit. He strikes out 2, but where reliever statistics are kind of, a little unfair. Those 2 runs from Sam Moll were on a hit given up by Buck Farmer. So
exactly,
to put it in perspective. But here's the thing. It's part of a larger problem that has gone on with this Reds bullpen. And you alluded to it just a little bit there. And that is their giving up runs late in games. In this particular instance, yeah, they had spotted 7 runs already. They had a little room to work with. But this bullpen, this was the area of focus for Nick Krall. This is where he invested the money. This is where he went out and got guys to create a situation that the Reds could feel confident late in games and not worry about burning out pitchers like they did last year. It has not played out that way. And it's a little frustrating for me because what was supposed to be the targeted upgrade has really let them down time and time again. I am really tired of losing 1-run games, Tim. And I mean, I really needed last night's game. I needed it to reset just where I was emotionally with this team. I think Reds country needed it to be able to kind of take a breath and understand that, the Dodgers are actually human. They can be beat on any given night if you can string together a good offensive output, which the Reds did. So, my spirits are lifted. I feel a whole lot better, but I do still have some concern about this bullpen, even though it was an amazing bullpen day.
Yeah, I think you mentioned you're tired of losing 1-run games. So in this stretch where they were they won 2 of their 2 of 14, the run differential was 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty irritating when you look at a big picture. Yeah, man, I think that's what you said. So not just today, but not just last night's game, but I was thinking I guess I was going to go and predict that the streak was going to go forward in tonight's game, but I hope not. But you go back to the last Arizona game on Wednesday where it's 1-1 and Fernando Cruz has been excellent. Gives up that run, and I know that play with Jake Fraley, was what people talk about, but still he put a ball in play, it hit the ground. That's what happens. It is definitely a cause for concern, especially if this is the hole they've dug themselves, a hole that we all kind of believe they can dig themselves out of, if everything goes the right way, and their talent level certainly shows it can, especially when they get everybody back. And it is a thing, like you talked about, like this is where the money was spent. The Nick Martinez, it's the Brent Suters, the Emilio Pagans, and I think Brent Suter's been fine for the most part. He's had a couple outings that didn't go his way, and that's, reliever ERAs are BS. Shout out our friend Carlos Guevara with his career 6. That's not fair, right? That's not fair.
Wow.
He shouldn't have that. He had probably 1 bad outing in Colorado,
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's good.
You're going to hear from him about that.
I know I will, but I'm defending him, saying that he doesn't deserve that, right? Because
Right.
people throw it at him on Twitter all the time, and it's not fair. But yes, joking aside, I really thought that we would be getting more out of this group of guys. And you and I both have gone on our shows to say that maybe we were in the expectation that we would like to see Aroldis Chapman be back on this team and have a power arm. That does not look good, by the way. We're very happy to be wrong there. For
sure.
On and off the field reasons.
Yeah. And here's the thing with this bullpen and with this team as a whole. You make a great point talking about that run differential, because while they're losing lots of games, they're not getting pummeled. They're not getting beat down. I mean, you don't have to squint very hard at all to see them having won both the San Francisco and the Arizona series on this road trip. Just minute differences made the difference in both
Arizona
of those
series
series
at home. Yeah.
Or the Arizona series at home. So, this team is a shell of what it was supposed to be, and they're still playing pretty good baseball. They just haven't been able to put it all together, the hitting and the pitching at the same time. Hopefully that is coming. Guys are going to be coming back. Hopefully this injury bug is about out of their system, and we can move forward with the Cincinnati Reds team that we were supposed to have and can make a fair evaluation of them at that time.
That's all I can ask for at this point, Steve, because look, if they're going to stink, that's fine. We know they're going to, they can stink, but I want to know that they stink with their 26 best, not with 4 or 5 guys who would be the 26th player on other teams.
Well, I can tell you this, for a moment in time, the Cincinnati Reds in 2024 were better than the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we liked the bullpen day.
We did like that.
Coming up, we're going to get a starting pitcher back on the mound. That's right. Frankie Montas, starter number 1, is going for the Reds today, and he is looking for a bounce back performance in order to keep the momentum moving forward and give the Reds an opportunity to already secure a series split with the Dodgers. We're talking Montas coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets that you can place on point spreads or money lines or player props. So many ways to play over at FanDuel. Jeff likes to build a parlay that is just all Elly De La Cruz stats, and he's won with that thing a lot. You can be very creative over at FanDuel to win your money. And again, if you're a new customer, just head to FanDuel.com/locked-on, and you can use $150 in bonus bets with any one $5 bet that wins. FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today. If you haven't had a chance to do so, head over to our Discord server. The link for it is down in the description of today's show. We're talking Reds baseball in between games, in between episodes of Locked On. We love talking baseball. We want to talk baseball with you, so join us there. All right, Tim, Frankie Montas. Couple great starts to begin the season. Things fell off a little bit. Then he got injured through no fault of his own, took a liner off of that forearm, comes off the injured list with a tremendous outing. Great outing. Loved his post game there. You've probably heard me say, I thought he said a lot of great things about just pitching and not worrying about his shoulder and basically just letting it rip. And he looked really, really good. Then he goes out to San Francisco. Last time out, not a great start. Managed to go 4 2/3, but he gave up 4 earned runs on 7 hits. He hit 2 batters, allowed a homer, only struck out 3 dudes, and did walk a guy. So not awful. It could have been worse, but it certainly could have been better. So I'm looking at this as kind of being a bounce back opportunity for Frankie Montas against this Dodgers lineup that is just loaded at the top. For Frankie to kind of get into a dominant groove and reestablish himself as that number 1 guy.
Yeah, and I think there's history on this too, because you mentioned so Freddie Benavidez did not pass the test of first-time managerial services in that game by leaving him out there. But also, Frankie Montas was at one point traded to the Dodgers and never got to play for the Dodgers. So I'm sure that there's probably that part of him that's like, I want to show them like this is what you could have had.
Right.
And he's going against a guy like James Paxton, who's gotten a lot of media attention for his comeback this year, which I am very happy for. I love James Paxton, loved him in Seattle. Would not love to see him succeed tonight, but this is a situation where, and for Frankie, he seems to pitch better when it really, I don't know, is that cliche? He pitches well when it matters the most kind of thing, right? Well, it's the Dodgers. It's taking the ball here. It's trying to get your team their first back-to-back win since the Angels series at the end of April there. It's a lot that you're looking to, and I really believe that he's going to want to go out there and do it, give his all. I believe he will. And I think that that's, kind of keep this building up to win. Sunday is the game that we're all looking forward to the most in the pitching matchup, right? So get these two, and so Sunday can be a lot more fun if you feel pretty good about the series.
It's going to be interesting to see how the at-bats look from Mookie Betts, from Shohei Ohtani, and from Freeman, because the bullpen day managed to hold all of those guys hitless. Betts was 0 for 3. Ohtani was 0 for 2 with a walk. And Freeman went 0 for 3 as well. So, I think they're going to, they're going to be looking to do some damage early after kind of getting a spanking last night out in Chavez Ravine. So I hope that Montas is able to dial it in. Now, you talk about Paxton, and he is a left-handed pitcher. And I find that, that does not allow the Reds to put their best foot forward. The lineup versus left-handed pitching is just simply not as good as the lineup versus right-handed pitching. So there's going to be lefties that play in this game. I would like to see Jake Fraley get the opportunity.
Me too.
He has been playing really, really well. And in a small sample size, his splits against left-handed pitching have been really good. I think he's still hitting over 300 versus left-handed pitching in a handful of plate appearances. I mean, he may be up to 20 at this point. I don't have it right in front of me, but I would like to see him get the nod against Paxton today.
I did too. I think that this is the kind of situation where Benson did just have the big home run. He had a really good day at the plate, and let's let Jake Fraley dab his feet and get his chance to do as well. Obviously, our all-time favorite now, Stuart Fairchild. He's going to go 3 for 4 in this game because he's going to be used properly. and he's a lefty hitting machine, much like Nick Senzel was last year. So
Mhm.
expect a big day from him, obviously. And then, of course, T. Steve. So the big question is if, Jonathan Indy is recovered from his migraines. Well, if we have Jonathan Indy in the lineup tonight. So I think that could be something that could really be helpful in this as well. Santiago Espinal has been swinging the bat pretty decently, though, these last few days. So hopefully that keeps going in this game as well, because he's going to be in the lineup.
And that is probably a great spot to go ahead and wrap it up. Tim, thanks for being here. It is, I know, almost 2:00 in the morning there in Cincinnati. So thanks for staying on your brand and being late night Reds. Bringing it over here to Locked On Reds for me today. I really do appreciate it. I really love mid-afternoon Reds here in Hawaii. It's my favorite when they're on the West Coast because I don't have to get up early. I don't have to stay up late. It's beautiful. And that's where we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for making Locked On Reds your first listen of the day. Everydayers, Jeff Carr's back in next week. We're going to break down the rest of this Dodgers series and then get you set for the San Diego Padres coming to Great American Ballpark next Tuesday. In the meantime, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. If you're in the audio feeds, click subscribe, tell your friends, leave us a review. If you're back to going to the office every day, take us in the car with you. You can download the audio version, listen to us on your way in. There's lots of ways to hear Locked On Reds. Hope you can find us. And if you can't, reach out. I will help you find it because we want to keep you locked on Reds every single